People get into the NFT space for a number of reasons, but there's kind of three that stick out. One would be the art, the second one would be the community, and another one would obviously be the money, right? And so that's what we hear a lot in the news about things selling for millions of dollars, like little pixelated images, and you're like, what is happening in this world, right? So I'm glad everyone could make it here to kind of dive into that world and with us and just see like where we go from there. A little backstory on me. So, some of you may have been following me from back in the day when I was a citizen journalist for Austin Indie Media. The reason I really wanted to pull this up is because it offers an interesting background of crypto and the emergence of, alternative financial systems. So DeFi is one of those things that emerged because this is a little bit of political theater that I documented in front of the Capitol, but the anonymous movement was a representation of a lot of disenfranchisement, disillusionment of the financial system with the bubble and the collapse of the economy. I wanted to know the truth, like I was on a truth-finding mission, so I became the citizen journalist in 2008 after college, picked up a camera, started documenting all of these social justice movements happening, from like anti-war, indigenous rights. I have this giant archive of like 10 years of footage of all of these things. And so this is all the footage from just 2012. And there was like a Chalk the Police movement, which is like reclaiming public spaces, tent cities, going to an abandoned Home Depot, a parking lot, trying to set up houses for homeless. And then the police like coming in, busting it up. But really it's interesting to see the state versus the people, and like, do the people really have like self-sovereignty when the financial system is constructed in a way to benefit like the wealthy elite, right? And so with Santa helping the kids say what they want for Christmas, immediately gets arrested because he's part of this like Chalk the Police, like reclaim public spaces for the good. And actually they were like really hurting his wrist there. But we have the right to politically protest still, but we could end up being in a slippery slope of going the wrong way with that. After South by Southwest and going to like 30 hours of panels about blockchain and NFTs in 2017, I was just blown away, and I wanted a way for people to really understand what this technology could do for people. And but it was all very complex and hard to understand, so I wanted to create a film that would introduce these topics like your digital twin, walled gardens, self-sovereignty, decentralized social media networks, crypto keys. Like all of these concepts were very foreign to me at the time, but I was getting it, I was starting to understand it. And I realized if I had like a short film that really just could introduce these topics in an inspiring and beautiful way, that it could get people more interested in it. So I started this film in 2017, had to learn like graphics. This is a screen grab from the short film. The character's name is Ava, short for Avatar, and she's on this journey to become a founding female, not like the founding fathers, but we really need women at the forefront in the tech space, creating a declaration of digital independence. This is kind of my thinking around where we should be going. And so I made this, I had to learn 3D immersive because I wanted people to really feel like they were part of this story, because we are. And I needed a film that could immerse people in a way that was not done before. So this is called The Walled Garden, and it's a metaverse experience that I built using Blender and Unreal and the Spatial app. And so this is just kind of the outside of it. But each one of these short films and teasers are actually NFTs. And when I realized that, I could take the short film, which is about the age that we're living in, and turn it into an NFT. So it became very meta. It became very much like a self-enclosed thing. So I really wanted to break it up into chapters to make it digestible. And so this is the film where she's like coming away from being in a world of centralized social media platforms that gather her data and then use that data to manipulate her behavior, and then also profit from it. And so these freedom flowers are another collection, which are part of the story of where we are. It's like we really do need a digital bill of rights. We need the right to own our own data. And like I think NFTs really give you that. And then, you kind of need the right to be anonymous and the right to privacy. None of these things are real. Like, they're very scarce. Like, digital liberties don't really exist now, but they're actually talking about it in Congress and internationally. Digital rights to protect us from AI, right? Because when you have the AI and the giant conglomerates that own like 99% of the world's data, then that can be like a weapon, right? To use against the people. So I also wanted this walled garden space to be kind of like a workshop, an education space where you can learn about the types of digital liberties that you could have and then also craft your own. So there's an interactive component to this where you can write a note and then proclaim like, I want the right to digital self-determination and things like that. And then put that up on the scroll like, like you're founding a new nation. That's a living metaverse that anybody can go into at any time and actually be part of the story there. So what is an NFT? What is fungibility? So if something is equal to itself, it's easily interchangeable. So $1 is equal $1. An ETH is 1 ETH. You also have things that are non-fungible. So they're very unique. They can really not easily be traded of equal value to something else. So like pretty much all of us are non-fungible. Like I'm non-fungible, you're non-fungible. And something that's non-fungible is very much like part of our everyday life, but we don't think about it like that. There's different types of non-fungible tokens. So you can think of an NFT as a digital asset, right? And there's physical assets that you can touch. There's intangible assets like ideas, copyrights. All NFTs rest on the world of decentralized finance. We're entering an age of programmable money. So what does that mean? This is a lot to unpack. We have permissionless. You don't need anybody's permission to really engage with the network. You can be pretty much anywhere in the world. It's decentralized, trustless, transparent, censorship resistant. That's a big one, and programmable. So the traditional banking system, right? When you want to send money to your friend, it has to go through your bank and then through a central bank and then through their bank and then back to them. And at any point in time, that can be frozen. All kinds of situations where it's the middleman, it's the time, it's the complications, and all the fees that are associated with that. We don't really have financial freedom in that traditional banking system, but that world's kind of being shaken up to like more peer-to-peer economies where you use blockchain as the intermediary, as a technology that will secure the transaction. And you don't really have to trust a middleman that they're going to record that transaction accurately. It's completely transparent. So the blockchain is really empowering creators like never before. And we were going from a world of Web 1.0 to 2.0, and now we're on the very beginning of Web 3.0, and that means more of like a spatial web, where we're going away from 2D screens to 3D metaverse art in the gallery, so like this exciting world. So all this is powered through decentralized apps, which is different than the normal apps on your phone. And the way you interact with a DApp is through a Metamask wallet or a digital wallet that connects through an extension on your browser. So there's different advantages of having decentralized apps. It's open source, there's no middleman, never shuts down, enhanced transparency, and it's really the future of online marketplaces. Where are we now? It's kind of the wild, wild west, and there are not really any official ways of doing things. So the creators that get into this now help shape the space, and you have a lot of say in how things are going to be going in the future. So that's what excites me a lot. We want to know what's in your wallet. Are there any NFT collectors here so far? Ashley's collector. I've been collecting some stuff. Bob Ross is the legend, and my friend JJ Weinberg, he created 10,000 happy little hairdos, and he's creating a barbershop metaverse where you can go in there and do all kinds of Bob stuff. But the gold ones with the gold background are going to be specially gifted to the son of Bob Ross because of the financial difficulty he's gone through. If you've seen that documentary, and from that estate that owns the identity of Bob, anybody with a fro and like a paintbrush is kind of banned. And then I have the Freedom Flowers, and then Save the Martians. This is an interesting project where, you buy 2 Martians, you put them into a merge machine, and then you can pick the traits that you want to from each one and then merge them into a single. So you burn the original 2, and then you have a new sort of super rare one if you just combine the rare traits. So there's interesting things happening there. These are a few things that I've collected. Another one, artist that inspires me, Flurp, is from Thailand. And then I'm doing a collaboration with Lindsay out of Canada. Infinite Mantra is her handle on Instagram. Love her work. CryptoPods is a pretty awesome project. And then Wuxi World. Gabe Weiss is an incredible abstract cubist artist. This is a collaboration he did with Nyla, a 12-year-old, with long necky ladies. And this is the one I collected, which actually brought Ashley and us together, which is based out of Toronto, called NFT Your City. So, Jordy came up with this idea of bringing together a group of artists, and then when this piece sold, 50% of that went to the artist who made the piece, and there was 10 artists involved. And then the other 50% went into a community bucket that would then go to buy NFTs from other artists in the city who haven't sold yet. And so the idea is to spark a movement of artists supporting artists. And so I got to choose, since I collected it, I got to choose the next city where this project was going to be. Obviously, I was going to pick Austin. So I'm gathering the troops to figure out how are we going to tell the story of Austin through the eyes of creatives. So the best part about this for me, is just the community in the NFT space. All the people I've met has been incredible. I've never met so many talented people in my life in such a short period of time from all over the world. Actually, take a note of this. This is really good. The Dream Conduit on Clubhouse. It's the first nonprofit carbon neutral DAO, which is the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And they actually, in order to become a DAO, they had to get rid of the bylaws in their founding documents to get rid of the founder's role, because if founder can actually completely veto anything at a nonprofit. So it's really it can't be decentralized if you have that central authority. So they did that, and they became the first to create this. And every day of the week almost, they have specialists talking about this. These guys will help you onboard into the NFT space. You have the coaching conduit, the curator conduit, the writing conduit, and they're telling you basically all these tips and tricks, and they're doing a killer job. So definitely follow them. So these are the top 5 platforms where you can actually really successfully get your project out into different communities around the world. But this is where all of the active NFT and crypto conversations are happening, not so much on Instagram, but definitely start a Twitter account, get on Clubhouse, join all the NFT clubs, follow people that you're interested in hearing from, and find some Discord projects that you're interested in getting into. So Ethereum is a blockchain. It's basically the world's virtual computer. You can run applications on it. That's what is the whole idea behind it. So you're going to need ETH, which is the cryptocurrency that powers all the transactions on the blockchain. You have these different consensus mechanisms, proof of work versus proof of stake. You can think of Bitcoin as the gold standard of cryptocurrencies. So as the market and the value of Bitcoin goes up and down, the tendency is for most other altcoins, or shitcoins as they call it, to go in the same pattern. Mining is just recording the transactions, right? It becomes increasingly harder to mine a whole entire Bitcoin. Usually it's just fractions of a Bitcoin these days, because the computer power is exponentially more intensive to create that. So you have these ASIC computers that have been at the forefront, like supercomputers, and not your mom and pop operation anymore to mine Bitcoin. You need these giant warehouses full of these, and it's based on cryptography. So you have your public decentralized ledger, which is just a record-keeping book, and then you have cryptography to encrypt and make sure that that's a secure transaction. If you understand those two things, you understand blockchain. And so you have your public key and your private key. You don't ever want to tell anybody your private key, but your public key is like your address, like your email address. You can just send that out to people, and then they know how with that letters and numbers, they know where to send whatever assets. So when you initiate a transaction, it goes to the meme pool, which is a bunch of pending transactions, gets picked up by the miner, and then it gets put into a block. So your NFT is in a block with a bunch of other transactions, and then that becomes added to the blockchain. So Nifty Kit is a cool platform that allows you to create your own smart contracts. A lot of these other ones, there's a lot of platforms out there that you're just minting to their smart contracts. So like OpenSea, it's not really it's like part of their collection, so to speak. But why would you need a smart contract? So you think of storing your NFTs inside of this automated task that executes itself. So it's like a if this, then that statement. And so anything could be NFT. You have the provenance there. You can track who's bought it, where it came from. And it's like a way to prove that this is an authentic piece from Banksy or whatever. And then the other cool thing is you can program royalties into the smart contract. So every time it's resold, like you get a certain percentage of that sale. So it kind of creates that lifelong passive income. But not all smart contracts are created equal. So you have to make sure that the smart contract you're creating, that no matter where it sells, that royalty goes along with it. Because right now it doesn't for some of the marketplaces. But they're working on a new ERC 725 standard that does do that. The benefits of NFTs are they're secure, transparent, you have your authenticity, it's accessible from anywhere in the world. Hackers are very clever. You really want to make sure that you're not clicking on any links that you don't know, like maybe you have a burner device that you go to the link on that, but you really don't want to activate or go to any websites. You have to be very careful with when you're signing in on your Metamask to adapt, because there's so many different like social engineering and phishing scams that you have to be super careful of, because there's so much money involved. Like a Bored Ape is like the minimum cost on that's $100,000 or something, right? And so it is traceable. You can actually see that Bored Ape, like if they were able to get into that wallet, through some like social engineering stuff, then they were able to like maybe transfer it out of that wallet. So you can see that transfer, but you can track everything, where it went and everything. But as far as knowing like who did it, that's part of this is kind of like pseudo-anonymous.
Can you just like get it back though?
No, see, that's the thing is like once you send your stuff out, like you can't, there's no like call center to be like, I want my money back. That's the whole thing. There's no centralized authority in this world. So it comes with blessings and curses. Gas is literally the reward that you're paying to the miners to record your transaction. And this is actually a Ethereum mining rig. And there are a bunch of GPUs, like for the graphics cards. Like gamers buy these cards and they have all the cool colors on it for their computers. But somebody literally just bought this in order to earn ETH to record the transactions. But Ethereum is still proof of work. So it's taking a lot of energy to do that, but they're trying to create Ethereum 2.0, which is the proof of stake. Ethereum 2.0, you don't really have to pay gas because it's proof of stake. It doesn't really cost energy to record the transactions because you've already locked up that energy. You always have to pay gas because you're interacting with the blockchain. But in the case of proof of stake, it's like not very much. There's the idea of like ever evolving software. Your iOS automatically updates itself. But in this case, since it's not like a central authority that's saying this is how the software is going to operate, it's more of a decentralized consensus way of coming about things. People get together in the Ethereum Foundation and they say, we are going to propose an update. It's very kind of like democratic. So they have the Ethereum improvement proposal, the EIP. And then people vote on that, and then that turns into the ERC. So it's a request for comment. It's a standardized way of all agreeing that this is how we're going to operate in the space. So when the ERC 721 came about, CryptoPunks came in and they said, we're going to use this and we're going to make these graphics, and this graphics is just going to be a test to test this new standard. And actually they were given out for free, but now they're the most valuable ones. And so where do you store all these JPEGs? You hear about NFTs are just JPEGs and I can just right click and save it. And that's not really the case because you don't have a way to prove that you own that. Blockchain layer provides that transparency. So there is the Interplanetary file system, and it's a way of taking that file and splitting it up to a bunch of shards and storing it on computers across the world. And then when you want to access it, it all comes together. And it's immutable, so it's supposedly supposed to stay there. It was actually designed to be able to send files to Mars. So that's why they call it Interplanetary file system. And it's different than, like we're literally going to colonize Mars with NFTs. But instead of having the central servers where everyone's trying to connect at once, everyone becomes a node and everyone shares everything equally. And that's a lot of the ethos of this space. Because we're all so early on, with all this knowledge comes great power and responsibility, right? So we should really think about ethics when we're coming into the NFT space. And you can think of it as a way to provide more value. It's more like, how do you use NFTs as a utility or access to like a good or a service? Think of it as like membership tokens, like we were talking about earlier. You really don't want to mint the same token more than once. And if you do want to like move it to a different chain, then you can actually burn the original one. Alan Henna is an incredible resource if you guys want to take note of his Twitter. But this has a link to all the different marketplaces, curated and then open marketplaces. And these are like the benefits and the downfalls of each of them. So the curated ones would be, you have to apply to publish on there. There's known origin, super rare, maker's place, and async art, which is for dynamic NFTs. There's also origin protocol. And then there's open marketplaces where anybody can mint. Cargo.build. This is my profile on Rarible. Outside of the intangible nature of NFTs, you can actually buy these displays and make it tangible. And you buy these digital displays and you can enjoy all kinds of NFT art. And so here's a list of a bunch of different companies that have pretty stellar displays. So you can actually, on some of these, I think you can connect your Metamask. And so it's like looking at the blockchain through that. Cool thing is with async.art, they've partnered with Murel. It's a dynamic NFT, so you can tie what's being displayed to some type of data set. Like whether it's daytime or nighttime, it'll change over time. Right. Or if like if the price of Bitcoin goes up, then you're gonna show like a green painting of Bitcoin or whatever, you just get creative with it. Some cool projects that I've seen in the space. I have a couple of these. Oniforce, which is like an anime. Logan Paul, I believe, bought that one for like 300 grand or 600 grand. I think he's gonna like 3D print it and then come out like boxing with it. So he's putting utility into creating value and provenance there. CryptoPunks being more than $2 billion worth of volumes traded. The thing about Bored Apes was like, it was kind of the first project to come out and say, you own all the IP, essentially. You can do these derivatives. And what that did is it kind of employed the creative minds of all of the collectors to come up with their own version of this. And then by doing so became this viral situation. And so since then, everybody's doing generative derivative projects. And then degens are actual people who just go on there and they try to find the best projects of these, and it's almost like a stock. They trade it like quick flips and stuff. So my Genesis collection, Freedom Flowers, as an example or a case study of how you could use NFTs, this is kind of what I'm doing. So, I'm trying to figure out ways to come up with different values that you could get from a Freedom Flower NFT. So these are some of the things. Last 7 months, I've been on Clubhouse for like 24/7, just going crazy. And just met incredible people along the way, and really just wanting to like bring more people into the space and figure out what we can build together. So these are some of the things that I could offer. Let's get set up with Metamask. So in front of you, you have a piece of paper that will help you store your seed phrase, which is ridiculous that it has to be on paper. Yeah, do not put your seed phrase digitally anywhere. Even in those little like safe apps where like OneSafe, and there's a bunch of those, because then it becomes sort of out of your hands. It can be hacked. So in the world of blockchain and AI and robots, the most advanced thing you can have to secure your financial independence is through paper. So I just printed out these little pieces that will help you. I would recommend having 2 of them, and then that way it's like a backup. And then there's actually something called crypto steel, and you can order this online, and it's like a metal plate that comes with a bunch of letters. And that way it's like fireproof and waterproof. Just do it. That's the best way to get into the NFT space. Is like you can think about this stuff all day long, but you just have to be willing to make mistakes and try shit out. So how do you choose the right crypto wallet? There's 2 different kinds. There's custodial and non-custodial. So what does that mean? It's more about who owns the funds in that wallet. If it's not your keys, your private keys, it's not your crypto. That's a saying. Coinbase, which is an exchange, that's a custodial wallet that they hold for you. They don't ever give you your crypto keys when you sign up. You create a password. Let's say Bitcoin is plummeting or ETH is plummeting and you have all this money tied up in there. Then what they'll do is they'll sort of freeze your ability to cash out so that they can, secure their funds. So
You can do that?
yeah, for sure.
For sure?
Robinhood does that, yeah. So you really only want to use exchanges as an onboarding or off-ramp and on-ramp into the crypto space from fiat currencies. So you want your funds in a non-custodial wallet. So you would purchase on Coinbase and then transfer that to your Metamask. But this is the flow chart of how you go from buying money on your exchange, which you connect to your bank account through ACH deposit and withdrawals. And then you transfer that money to Metamask, and then you can list your work for sale on OpenSea or whatever marketplace. You make your sale, and then that Ethereum goes to your wallet, and then from there you can send that back to the exchange and then sell your crypto for fiat and then deposit that fiat back into your bank. So literally you can just scan this QR code to go take you to the App Store on the phone. You can download Coinbase if you don't already have it. If you're in your non-custodial wallet, you pay the fees to interact with the blockchain because it's direct. But in the exchanges and the centralized custodial wallets, they are paying the fees for you. So you're kind of giving up the rights to your own finances, access to your own money, for the convenience of what they're offering the service for. So you actually don't own the crypto you buy on Coinbase. You think you have crypto on there, but you're just leasing the right to use it to trade. Download Brave browser. It's better than Chrome because it protects your privacy. So you can have all the crypto and cryptography. It's impossible to hack your seed phrase. So that's how they use social engineering. But then you could have the same password that you use for all your things. And then that's your Gmail and your iPhone and all that's a mess. So usually hacking into that comes first. And then they get into your stuff and they have keylogger software so they can record your keystrokes and see what your seed phrase is. So try not to type in the seed phrase more than once. You actually can set up a password for your MetaMask so that you don't have to keep typing in your seed phrase. So I downloaded this MetaMask app, and then they give you your seed phrase. They call it secret recovery phrase. If you have your secret recovery phrase written down, you'll be able to set up a password for your MetaMask. And then I would suggest turning on Face ID so you don't ever really have to type in your password. Your face is your password, which is crazy. Yeah, so the question is about physical work and tying it to the digital NFT, and how do you maintain that value as it's transferred from one owner to the other? And that's been a huge challenge that I've seen in the space, that typically people will opt to just allow the original purchaser of the NFT to be gifted the physical work. But the responsibility of then sending that physical work to the next NFT owner rests on the original collector and not the artist who gifted that piece. That's kind of been a workaround. And then there is actually a way to tie the physical with the intangible NFT through NFC stickers. So the near field communication, the Apple Pay technology, you can program those stickers to link to the blockchain. In the physical work, you could embed it so it's kind of like hidden. In order to take it out, you'd have to destroy the work.
When you say curated, does that mean that there are tastemakers or people saying this is good art and this is bad? And doesn't that then defeat the decentralized nature of it?
Yeah, I'm so glad you pointed that out. I mean, I feel like that's a big conversation to have, because the whole idea is like, how do we empower creators no matter what background, what age, no discrepancies there. And but like, what are the roles of curators that you may see in the traditional world? Like, curators still need to exist, I feel like. But I think that what blockchain is doing is it's opening up the possibility of who can become a curator. So what I really like to see is artists as curators. So you see a lot of these NFT artists that are just starting out, and they're putting on their own shows, and they're like picking out their friends, like, I love your art, let's do a show together. And so it's happening. So it is still like decentralized in that respect. And you want to be able to help people, but traditionally the algorithms, like on Facebook and Instagram, who's writing that code? Like, we aren't. So for the first time, we can kind of become curators of our own spaces and communities and uplift each other in that way.